a topic that is dominating the headlines. Well, I'm talking about the tariff wars. If you went into the food store and you feel that your pocketbook has been challenged, this tariff war is affecting everyone. It's having ripple effects in all of our lives. This quote by Albert Einstein rings true. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Welcome to Imagine Greater, the podcast where we reimagine what's possible in business, in leadership, and in life. And we're all about challenging the status quo. I'm Bethel Gibson, your host for today, and we're diving in to a topic that is dominating the headlines. So what are you talking about, Michelle? Well, I'm talking about the tariff wars. If you went into the food store and you feel that your pocketbook has been challenged, this tariff war is affecting everyone. It's having ripple effects in all of our lives. This quote by Albert Einstein rings true. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Don't miss that. In every crisis lies an opportunity. I had to find my opportunity. So for me, in shipping and logistics in one of my businesses, I recognize that my clients are going to be paying a hefty amount in freight costs. They're going to be paying a hefty amount in the import goods that they import for their businesses. So I went to my research. I found out who Trump wasn't levying tariffs against, what countries weren't being affected. I found suppliers for my clients, whereas they can pivot to until things change. I found the best shipping routes and who was offering the best rates. I partnered with a freight forwarder in a number of countries so that my clients can find other alternatives in shipping. I then reached out to my clients and provide them with the opportunities that exist. And I let them know, hey, it may not come as fast as you would like, but how much does it affect your bottom line? Does it allow you to even offer their services to their clients better? So when I did my research on how I could save my clients money, how I could allow them to reroute their goods in a different route, how I can find a freight forwarder that would work with them that would cost them less, how they can find suppliers and form strategic and build better relationship with other countries. Listen, my business increase. People lean in. Michelle, I didn't know that you provide this service. How uniquely is that? I position myself in a unique way, not just for custom brokerage, trucking, shipping, and logistics. I position myself and my company as a opportunity information hub that when you want to know what is the best way of doing things for your business, I'm the person you come to. I'm the source. I'm not just providing a service. I'm providing much needed information in real time to help them reimagine a better way for them in their business. So perhaps in this season, you may find that you may have to pivot and add an additional service to your business. Research, creativity, finding more ways for your clients to do business. I use that opportunity for the tariff wars to uniquely position myself to offer more than just shipping, logistics, and custom brokerage. I now offer information in real time that they can use to effectively be in a position of opportunity and competitive in their own business. Let's start with the basics. Michelle, what are tariffs? That's not an everyday word that I use, that you use, right? I use it every day in my business. But tariffs are taxes that are placed on imports. Countries use them to protect domestic industries or to retaliate when they feel another country is engaging in unfair trade practices. So it's all about trade. You see the difference between routine policy and trade war? It's strategy versus emotion. You see, a trade policy is a long-term policy and it's calculated, whereas a trade war is reactionary, often political, and carries ripple effects across the globe. This Bible verse in Proverbs 14:9 rings true. Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick tempered displays folly. Trade wars often come from quick reactions rather than wisdom. Are we experiencing that globally right now? Just a question for you to think about. Have you ever have you ever made a financial or business decision based on rising prices without fully knowing why? Think about that. Have you ever made a business or financial decision or instantly, quickly, you got to make it, but you don't know why because the prices are rising? So in early 2025, President Donald Trump announced sweeping set of tariffs. He imposed a 125% tariff on Chinese imports. He imposed a 100% on electric vehicles, 50% on steel and aluminum. His reasoning, Donald Trump, protecting U.S. industries from what he sees as economic threats. That's his story. That's what he's saying. But China, not to be outdone, and countered back with their own tariffs. A familiar pattern of repeating in 2018. You see, this isn't just happening for the first time. This also occurred in 2018 with trade conflict, but with higher stakes, more global players, and a more deeper consequences. You see, it's like Mark Twain says, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Who really wins in trade war? Does government win? Do businesses win? Or consumers carry the heaviest burden? Who wins? Is anybody winning right now? So let's talk about the real impact. According to the Congressional Budget Office, tariffs in 2025 to 2026 will push inflation to 0.4% and slow GDP growth. That means higher margins for businesses, higher costs for consumers, and a strain on economic growth. What that mean? It means higher costs for businesses, higher costs for consumers, and higher strain on economic growth. Three things that impact our livelihood. Let's say, for example, a small construction business firm sees aluminum costs rise at 40%. Overnight, aluminum costs goes up to 40%. They have three choices. They can delay the projects, they can raise prices, or they can eat the loss. And how many you know, in business, eating the loss is not an option. It's on the table, but it's not an option. None of these options feels like a winning. You don't want to delay the project. That costs. You don't want to raise your prices. That affects your clients. And of course, no business want to eat the loss, right? No business want to do it. But here's what the Bible has to say about things like this. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. And we find the story in Luke 14:28. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? You see, tariffs force both nations and businesses into the cost calculation. That's what tariffs do. They force you into these cost calculations. You set out your project, you decide how it's gonna go, and here comes the tariffs that you didn't even get a say in, right? So how do we do this? How does big business versus small business are affected? How are they affected? Well, large corporations often can weather the storm. They have reserves, they have global suppliers, they have political influence. But you small businesses out there, you feel the real shock almost instantly because you're not on the big stage playing. You're just starting out. Even if you don't import directly, your suppliers do. And their increased costs will show up in your invoices. You see, tariff trickles down and small businesses become the shock absorbers of global policy. You had no say in the policy. You weren't even invited to the table. But you, the small business, are affected directly. You absorb the cost first because your suppliers are affected. And so where they're going to pass it on? They're going to pass it on to you, their clients. So Ecclesiastes 7:7, surely the oppression destroys a wise man's reason, and a bribe debases the heart. You see, small businesses often bear the pressure of decisions made from far above them. That's what happens. When decisions are made high, small business have to bear it because they didn't get a say or weren't even invited to the table to have a say, right? So I have this question for you. Have rising costs in your business ever felt like a mystery? You're like, okay, I budget this, but where did this cost in aluminum came from? Could global trade be the hidden cost? Just a thought for you to think about. Could global trade be the hidden cost? As we continue, so you, the consumer, how are you affected? How does the tariff wars affect you, the consumer? Let's make it personal. Parents, you buy a tablet for a child and suddenly the cost double. Shoppers, you go to the grocery stores and the grocery bills climbing steadily. You're like, last week I just spent $150 and this week is $250. It's not just inflation. It's tariffs reshaping the cost of everyday goods. It's not just inflation. It's tariffs reshaping the cost of everyday goods, everyday eggs, everyday butter. These are the things you use on a regular basis. But tariffs have changed the way you shop now. You see, in this quote from an African proverb, it says, when elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Isn't that interesting? See, elephants are up there. The grass is at the bottom. We're in the grass. It is the grass that suffers. So my question for you, have you stopped mid-purchase and asked yourself, why is everything more expensive? You're in the shopping, the cashier is cashing, you say, hold up a second. I just see my amount keep rising and this is in the budget, right? And you stop in the middle of that and say, what happened? Did y'all do something different today? Mid-sentence, mid-shopping, you see how tariffs are affecting your wallets. So, leadership is uncertain in times like this. Because what do you do? What do you do when tariff wars are affecting every aspect of your life, in business, in leadership, in your lifestyle? What do you do? So you have to still lead in times of uncertainty, because unless things change anytime soon, it's going to keep escalating. So leadership in turbulent times requires calm, requires clarity, requires compassion. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about offering direction when the world feels unstable. When the world feels unstable, you have to offer, as a leader, direction. You have to offer wisdom. You have to offer clarity. You cannot ignore reality. It's like Peter Drucker says, a leader's number one responsibility is to define reality and then direct the people. All right? So my question on this, how do you stay grounded when the world feels uncertain? How do you stay grounded as a leader, as a mom, as a business owner when the world feels uncertain? Let's reimagine our response to all of this tariff wars, all of this discussion with China, all of this discussion with Canada, all of these border protection, and all of about Trump saying the U.S. first and want to make America great again, MAGA. How do we reimagine our response to all of this? So what if disruption is an invitation instead of panic? What if disruption is an invitation instead of panic? Instead of panic, choose pivot. Instead of fear, choose reinvention. We can always reinvent ourselves. Some businesses are moving towards local sourcing. digital services, and reshoring operation. Creativity thrives when an old system is shaken. I remember the other day I heard this story on the internet where somebody went shopping or bought something from another country, and they saw that they purchased it and it was $300 more than they thought it would be. Wouldn't that just shock you? When you experience something like that, don't you need to reimagine your response? Because in that moment, in that initial situation, you're like, what? Something that was seemingly, let's say, $100 is now $400. No one expected that. But that story was going around on the internet. And then everyone saw in real time how things can change overnight. What do you do with that, right? So, we're talking again about opportunity in crisis. You know that business idea that you had? You know that idea to write a book? You know that idea to lean into your creativity? You know that thought, that nudge keep coming to you to say, do this, do that, do more? You are now at that point where you will need to lean in and come up with more creative ideas of earning income, of increasing your income, of increasing the way you look at things. How can you now navigate a lifestyle that you want in becoming more creative with your earning power? Okay, it's not enough to just sit on your laurels and say, boy, my salary covers it all and then some. You now need to say, how can I make additional income? Without or having to work 200 hours. In this information age, you can now say, how can I pivot? How can I start this business? How can I start a blog? How can I maybe add on another service to your business? It's all is not lost in the war on tariff, in the shop prices increasing, in just listen, inflation. All is not lost. You have this amazing opportunity to begin again more intelligently. And all the ideas that have come to you, you know that idea that has been stuck in your head for years for you to bring forth. This is the time. This is the time. You are ready. You are positioned for greatness. You are positioned for more. You are positioned to bring forth that purpose that God has put in you. You're positioned to change your financial position for the rest of your life. This is now for you. This is now time for you to birth that what lies dormant in you and change your financial position in real time. So we have to reimagine. Instead of panicking, we have to choose pivot. Instead of fear, we have to choose reinvention. Because when things escalate at that level, we have to reimagine a better way of shopping, a better way of doing business, a better way of living, a better way of our lifestyle. What and how can we do differently will require you to sit down with your family, your husband, your business partners, and start to think into what would be my best practices in this season of tariff wars. What will be yours? How can you reinvent yourself differently so that at the end of the day, you're still living at the level that you desire? In Romans 12:2, it says, do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Sit, get quiet, and think in align yourself with Holy Spirit, and think in how can you reinvent yourself and reimagine a better way of living for your business, for your family, and for you. So my question, have you pivoted your business or career in the face of shifting global realities? Have you pivoted in your business? It may require you to. It may require you to think differently, and that requires you to renew your mind. The things that you did yesterday will not necessarily work today or tomorrow. But guess what? We get this amazing opportunity. We're God's highest creation. We're the only people who can imagine and create a better life. But we do it when we get quiet and sit with God. All right? So where does faith in the fire fits in? In the moments of uncertainty, when the world seems out of sorts and things seem that they will never return back to the normal way, and they probably won't, because we're moving forward. And it doesn't look like the global leaders are changing their minds anytime soon. So how does faith fit into all this? Faith gives us a perspective in economic storm. Faith gives us perspective in economic storm. Proverbs 21:5 reminds us, the plans of the diligent leads to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes to poverty. I'll say that again. Proverbs 21:5 reminds us, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. And I love that, don't you? But everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Be planning, get planning, do it now, right? We can't afford to make hasty decisions. We need spirit-led wisdom. We need spirit-led patience. We need radical faith in times of uncertainty. When we weren't welcome to the table, to the global table of decision-making of the tariffs, we need to be spirit-led. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase, says Martin Luther King Jr. And in this season, there may not be a staircase, but there will be a step forward that we can take when we're being led by God's Holy Spirit. So my question to you, are you leaning into God's wisdom as you navigate economic uncertainty? Are you leaning into God's wisdom as you navigate economic uncertainty? So how does the future look for trade? You see, tariffs have dominated the headlines of today, but the future of tariff is still being written. It isn't final. Nothing is. It's still being written. What if we reframe trade as partnerships instead of power struggle? What would that look like? What if we reframe trade as partnerships instead of power struggle? We're all in this global community together. Can't we all just get along and figure out how there can be a win-win deal for everyone? I'm sure we can. William Arthur Ward said this, adversity causes some men to break and others to break records. That is one of my favorite quotes. We have this amazing opportunity in this time of uncertainty with the tariff wars to break records. We can imagine a future of equitable trade, creative solutions, and resilience in leadership. We can reimagine an equitable trade future, and I believe that's possible, don't you? We can get creative solutions. We are creative beings, and we can be resilient in leadership. So question again, what's one mindset shift that you can make today to imagine greater in your business, in your leadership, in your everyday life? What's one mindset shift that you can make today to imagine greater, a better business, a better lifestyle, a better leadership, a better everyday living for you, for your family, for your friends, for everyone that's assigned and associated with you? How can you reimagine better? We've been talking about the tariff wars. We've been talking about how you are being affected financially. And this financial shift will not just affect you just only in your wallet. It takes an emotional toll sometimes, doesn't it? Because let's face it, you anticipated living the life of your dreams. That's why you get up every day and you move forward in life, in business, in service to others. And then came the tariff wars. But we have this amazing opportunity to reimagine better. So I want to thank you for joining us today, for joining us at Imagine Greater today. Our hope is that today we reminded you that even in global uncertainty, you have the power to lead with vision, faith, and strategy. So I want you to click the subscribe button. I want you to share this podcast. I want you to be a part of our family because we have many other amazing topics that we want you to imagine greater, to imagine better, to live the life of your dream at the highest level. So until next time, thank you for joining us. Thank you for leaning in today, and thank you for listening on the insights that we have shared that we believe will make your life even better than you dream. Let's hit the subscribe button. And until next time, keep imagining greater, not just beyond the headlines, but beyond the tariff wars. Bye for now.